So I am back again with another Q&A session. There have been quite a few questions since I've last been on here. I was trying to do this once a week, but I'm very busy. Spring and summer is always my busiest time. So Max the Man asked me, have you ever done a curbless or barrier-free shower? So curbless showers typically, well, where you're going to see curbless showers is going to be like a convalescent home or somewhere where you have to have wheelchair access so that you can just go right into the shower. When I say they're curbless, you might have the tile that goes like this and then kind of a hump so that all the water in the shower wants to drain inside of there. Like I said, usually a convalescent home, maybe a hospice, places like that, you know, certain hospitals are going to have a curbless shower. And curbless showers are, well, let me put it in two different respects. So you have a foundation, and your foundation is being poured during the process of building a home. The foundation is all concrete. It's usually about 6 inches of concrete. So if they're going to, or 8 inches, if they're going to do a curbless shower, that would be the time to do it, because then your concrete is formed at a very slight slope down to the drain, maybe taking up about an inch and a half, you know, the ends there down to where the drain is. Maybe 2 inches at the tops, but that's how you would build a curbless shower with concrete. If you were to do retroactively a curbless shower on concrete, you would actually have to cut out that shower floor, which is the 6 inches of concrete I'm telling you about, take that out of there and re-pour this whole area. So yes, it can be done, but it's not an easy thing to do. With regard to an upstairs or wood floor, or even if you have, say, a crawl space and it's a downstairs shower, yes, it can be done. Typically you have 2x6s, which are floor joists. Some people have 2x8s and 2x10s, but that's kind of unusual. So again, you have to go through the same process. You have to cut, if you have a 2x6 from wall to wall, for example, you have to cut down about an inch and a half or so. Get that out of there with, you know, that strip out of there with each 2x6 that you're running into. Then you have to re-support and do some cross beams going across, because now you've kind of compromised the sturdiness of your floor. And it's not something that I've ever done, but I know how it's done, and I would not want to do it because you're structurally changing the building in some way or fashion. So I would rather not do a curbless shower. If I'm going to do a curbless shower, I'm only going to go up one 2x4 on the curb, so that I still have that platform that I'm telling you about. Then you can put some mortar on the outside of the curb, right where it goes up to that one 2x4. You can get that little hump going on, and then you can slope it in like that. So that's a possibility also. You also have to use very small tile. So tile on a mat, a 1x1 or 2x2 on a mat, is really the only way you're going to get away with that, because again, if you're doing it on concrete and you have that little hump, or if you're doing the 2x4 and you have a little hump, you still have to form your tile over that hump and then into the shower. It's extremely unusual that people have asked me to build a curbless shower, and the few times that I've signed up for it, they decline, because again, you got to cut into those floor joists. So you know, the process itself takes some prep. It takes a lot of know-how, structurally speaking, you know, knowing how the building works and all that stuff. And then you have to re-support anything you've taken out. So to answer your question, no, I've never built one. I'm dying to, but I've never have yet. Okay, the next question is not really a question per se, it's more of a statement. I did a review on a rigid tile wet saw. If you go through my videos, you can find it. That was about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, that I had bought that saw. It was a $300 saw. I bought it at Home Depot. I tried to get the best quality saw that I could, but something that was still portable. My saw, my tile saw, was in the shop at the time, and I didn't have access to it, so I had to buy this one as a temporary backup saw. The saw that I have is, well, let me back up. when I bought my first tile saw, I bought it at a pawn shop, and it happened to be what they call a Tilematic. Tilematic made these wonderful saws. I loved them, and I just stumbled upon this one. In the interim, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago or so, they were bought out. The company was bought out. And they were bought out by Husqvarna. So Husqvarna now makes the same tile saw that I bought many, many years ago. That tile saw retails anywhere between $1,100 and $1,200. So it's an expensive saw, and it's a heavy duty, what would you call, like a contractor saw. And it does all the things I wanted to do, and I have no complaints whatsoever. In fact, Husqvarna made a lot of changes to that saw, which I really appreciate. It used to be a metal pan, and once the paint chipped off, it would rust. So they made it an aluminum pan. Plus, they have at the very bottom of the legs, they have holes, and the holes are there for casters. So I immediately put 4 casters on, so I don't have to dump my water every time I move my saw. So good for you, Husqvarna. I love that. But as I said, my saw was in the shop, and I didn't have access to a saw. I needed a backup saw, so I bought this rigid. The rigid saw I bought, when I took it out of the box, I did like an unboxing of it and a review. And it was a very, very loud saw. It had a very small motor that was kind of upside down like this. The motor part was here, and then this is where the blade was at. And because it was loud, I didn't like that, because the table moved, just a slight movement, which matters to me. I didn't like that. They put the drain plug way up front instead of the back. A couple other things that I had commented on that particular video about why I did not like that saw. But I also stated in that video that my other saw was in the shop, and this is a temporary type of thing. So this guy comes on and he basically says, hey, it's your fault, you should have spent more money on a better saw, etc., etc. I have a better saw. It was in the shop. Sometimes people don't watch the whole video, or because I talk too much, they just skip through, and yeah, so I had a better saw, but it was in the shop. That's why I did my review on this one. For a homeowner, it's a great saw, but the things that I pointed out on that video were specific to my job. I can't have a table that wobbles like that, because then I'm getting bad cuts all the time. If you're taking your time, and this is a DIY project, and you have weeks and weeks and weeks to, do your bathroom, then it's a great saw. And for the money, I'm not hating them, I'm not hating the company. For the money, it's still a good saw. What I was doing is comparing it to my saw, and I was just basically giving all the little negatives on there. I thought it was kind of like on me to talk about the bad, not so much the good. The good is a given. The motor works, but it's loud. The table rolls back and forth, but it moves. The drain plug is there. It's a plastic pan, by the way. I didn't like that, because if the plastic cracks, you're stuck buying another pan. With my aluminum one, it'll never do that. So all the little things that I mentioned in the video had to do with the things I didn't like. So that if somebody else, maybe it's not a DIYer, maybe it's a contractor, maybe it's somebody just starting out in tile and they want to buy a saw. And I'm basically saying what this guy said: spend a little more and get a better quality saw rather than getting this one. Anyway, that's my retort to that comment. My next question comes from Dan Jessless. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Dan is asking me about a video that I did concerning a shower valve. It is a Venturi, a Price Fisher Venturi shower valve. One of the 2 videos I have on shower valves, 3 maybe. Anyway, this particular valve he apparently has, and he was having issues with it. Specifically, hot water was not coming out of the hot side once he called for water. Although his sink, the vanity, had both hot and cold, and his toilet had cold, and apparently the shower valve also had cold, but no hot water was coming out. So he's asking me, is there a possibility that I installed it upside down? Well, you can't install the valve upside down. I suppose you could. It's very difficult. If you're reading the valve, it always has an arrow that's pointing up, so that would matter, of course. But then the cartridge itself, you definitely can't install upside down. You can put it in this way or turn it upside down, and it's going to work the same way. on most valves. He also asked if during the soldering process could he have gotten solder into that hole that controls the hot side. Yes, you definitely could. That is one of the videos that I have on a Delta faucet, which has been seen quite a bit. I messed up on this Delta faucet about 3-4 years ago, and I showed the process with the literal, I mean not the literal faucet that or the shower valve I was working on, but I showed it on an exact replica, and I showed all the holes in the valve and what I did to mess up. In other words, I dropped in the very top of the valve, I dropped solder in it, so water was coming through the cold and the hot side, but it couldn't go up through the shower because I dropped solder in it. And so Dan's question is basically asking me the same thing. Could he have dropped some solder onto that hot side on the little hole? And absolutely yes. There's also a possibility that garbage has blocked that hole. Anytime you take out a valve, of course, you're shutting down the water, and especially on older houses and older pipes, you know, supply lines that come into your house, you have little garbage that once you turn the water back on gets unsettled and it goes through your system. And it doesn't matter that it's coming in the cold side and going out here and going out. It only takes one little speck of dirt or debris or something like that to get caught in that hole and to block it. So what you're supposed to do with most valves, and the instructions tell you to do that, is once you're finished sweating it in, you're supposed to bleed it out. So that would mean going out to your wherever your main water shutoff is, have somebody come inside and just give it a little quick turn and get all that debris out of there. That's what you're supposed to do. A lot of people don't do that. So that's a very real possibility. Either the solder blocked it, or in this case, as I just said, probably some debris got in there. Either which way, if you're getting water into the cold side and everything else being equal, you've got hot and cold water, then it's definitely operator malfunction, which happens to me as well, and happens to everybody who does plumbing now and again. And some of us man up to it, some of us don't. But anyway, that answers your question, Dan. But I did have this week, in fact, a couple days ago, I had a couple people hammering me again about not allowing comments. Certain comments that people make, as I said on my other Q&A video, certain comments that people make don't help the masses. They are kind of smart alecky, and they border on just being rude. And I don't allow those comments. One guy had actually written that this is a public forum, and if you don't like being on a public forum, then you shouldn't be posting videos. Really? Okay. YouTube is not a public forum for a lot of different reasons. The main reason is that I have control over my channel. Everybody on YouTube has control over their channel. There are a lot of creators, we're called creators. There are a lot of creators out there who disable their comments. Like, you go to their video and it says comments disabled, so you can't even leave a comment. There are a lot of other people on YouTube, on their channels, where people ask questions and they never come back and answer it. There's other people that sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. It's hit and miss. That usually happens on vlogs because those guys have thousands and millions of subscribers and they can't possibly answer every question, so they just ignore a lot of them. I don't ignore my questions, not intentionally, if it's a legitimate question and if it's not some type of critique that has absolutely no benefit to people who are watching the video. When you say a public forum, Facebook is a public forum because you're allowing people to be on your Facebook. You're friending them or unfriending them. Twitter is a public forum because, again, you're allowing them by virtue of accepting them, following them, etc., you're allowing them. So that's public forum. There are other social media sites out there, including vlogs. So you have a forums. Forums are definitely a public forum. There are a lot of tile forums out there, and people make comments or ask questions, and then other people chime in. YouTube is not a public forum. I simply make videos of my work, and I talk about how I do things. If people have some other way of doing things, they can write that on there and say, hey, you know, well, your way is great, but this is how I do it. You might want to try that, That's great. I don't have a problem with that. I'll post that. And so if you're going to put a comment on here, have something to say. If you have a feel that I'm doing things wrong, which basically this guy was saying, call me. It doesn't do any good to post a comment because it will be deleted. Pick up the phone and call me. You can email me, but chances are I'm not going to answer it in the way that I can do it verbally. So I would rather have a talk with you, and if you can change my mind or I can change yours, or we have some type of debate about the subject, then we can come to an understanding, or I can go specifically more as to why I do certain things, and you can do the same thing on the phone. I'm not going to debate on my comment section. I'm not going to go tit for tat, well, da da da, then you come back and da da da, and I come back. I'm not going to do that. That's drama. This is not a forum. Okay? So, you know who you are if you're watching. So the guy who talked about, this is a public forum, blah, 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 is not a public forum. If you want a public forum, go to one of your forum boards. If you have any questions, you're free to ask on the particular videos that you have questions of, or you can put them down here, and next week I will be on point and I will answer those questions. One last thing before I go. I have a video I just posted yesterday. A friend of mine, good friend of mine, I've known him for 22 years, almost 22 years. His name is Waylon. And Waylon is 73. He just turned 73 recently. This past winter he had a stroke, a mild stroke, but a stroke nevertheless. And in addition to that, about the same time, he ended up with Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's started out in one of his hands, and it has spread to his face now, so his face does a shaking thing. And we don't know how much of that, or how fast it's going to spread, how much of that is going to continue other parts of his body. There are underlying issues that are associated with Parkinson's, being hard to swallow, which he's showing that, not having the correct motor function, which he's showing that, being tired all the time. Waylon is a workhorse. Waylon loves gardening, he loves farming and all that stuff. He's a Georgia boy and he grew up here, and he just eats, breathes, and sleeps farming. So he does that both here and in Jamaica. So 9 years ago he bought 5 acres in Jamaica and he built himself a house. And the land slopes just as he likes it for farming, and he has farmed that land for 9 years solid. Up until about probably 2 or 3 months ago, his health has deteriorated so much that he needs to get out of Jamaica. So although he's retired, he spends about 3 months there, comes back here for about 2 weeks or so, maybe 3, and then he goes back again, and that's what he does back and forth. He can't really do that anymore because he can't do the farming. And I took a video and showed the entire 5 acres. I showed the inside of the house. I showed all the stuff that actually comes with the purchase of the house, in addition to an interview I did with him. And I have that video online. If you don't know, on my channel, I'll post it somewhere. I'll post it right up here. So click on this link and go to the video and watch it. It's quite boring maybe for you because it's 40 minutes long. I tried to go through it and make it as short as possible. The first part is kind of speeded up so the camera moves a lot. That's showing the property. But the interview portion and showing the entire lot and showing the inside is basically what you're going to watch. On that video, you're going to get a good feel for who Waylon is, and you'll kind of see that he really does need to get back here. This isn't something that he wants to do. He would like to keep the property and continue farming, but as you notice in the video, a lot of things have not been done. The curb appeal was not there. He hasn't really done all the stuff. There's leaves in the pool. The back of the property has stuff growing up that is normally chopped down. So he's just kind of let it go because he doesn't have the energy. That's another underlining thing of Parkinson's, is that even though you get 8-9 hours of sleep, you wake up tired. So as I said, he's trying to sell the house off for $200,000. That includes the 5 acres of land. That includes the house itself, obviously, the swimming pool, everything goes with it. Everything inside goes with it. When you see the video, you'll notice refrigerator, stove, washer and dryer, beds, chairs, everything goes with it, kit and caboodle for that price. If you don't, or you're not interested in it, and you don't have the 200 grand, but you know somebody that might, at the end of the video, there's a little scroll up thing that says agents are welcome for 5%, which is basically 10 grand. And when I say agent, I use the term loosely on the video. You could be the agent who finds a buyer. So if you find a buyer and you are the person who referred the buyer, once the purchase takes place, you'll get the 10 grand. So it's a little motivator. You know, we're going to have to pay somebody anyway. I say we. I'm helping Waylon because he's, you know, not functioning too well. But whether it's a real estate agent or somebody who does a referral, like I'm suggesting here, somebody's going to get paid. So my take on it is you don't really need a real estate agent. You've already seen the property. He's already looking for you, and so therefore you just get together, and once that happens, you get the 10 grand. So that's a motivator, maybe. If you know of, you know, somebody that has any interest whatsoever in a property and it sells, then yeah, you get the money.